Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. This will not take 10 minutes. It's not really a moan, more of a sharing of information. This clip of Alex Salmond, I got tagged into it on Twitter today, and it's obviously an old clip. I mean, he's passed away a good few weeks now, but it doesn't look as if it was just before he passed away. It looks as if it's maybe a couple of years ago, and he is getting tore in to Nicola Sturgeon. What Alex Salmond's been able to do, which nobody within the SNP was able to do, is totally understand why she lost her way with the Scottish public. And, more importantly, votes. Now, see what you like about Alex Salmond. And I'm no great admirer of his until recently, and I must admit, admirer is maybe a strong word to use, but I actually used to hate the man, and I didn't before he passed away. And the reason I hated him was, as a unionist, he got Scotland to the closest it's ever been to destroying a union that I hold dear. So obviously you would have issues with that as a unionist. But when you peel it back, and you can see that he was no doubt the SNP's best ever leader. What followed him has been absolutely shambolic in comparison, thankfully. But he was able to understand intrinsically why they lost their way under Nicola Sturgeon. And he tells you that in this speech he made. Absolutely nails it. I don't know where the speech is from. I don't know when it's from. All I know is I get tagged into this thing on Twitter earlier on today, and I thought, well, I mean, we all know it. We could see it. But the SNP, for some reason, were blind to what he can see and what we all see. But he's more passionate about it because he holds independence and did hold independence more dear than I ever will. It was not an aim of mine. It was a political aim of his for his whole political time in service, and his legacy was taking us that close to it, and thankfully ultimately failed. But you can see here a man who knows what's going on here, knows right for wrong as well on the subject matter, and you can see with his words, that he holds one person ultimately responsible for this. And I'll let you watch a video and just come back to you in a minute.
To get to a position where you say to a majority of our people that you cannot have single-sex spaces prized and worked and strived for because of some daft ideology imported from elsewhere and, as we've seen, imperfectly understood by its proponents in Scotland, borders on the totally absurd. And the 6% decline in independence vote over a month, and think about that, 30 years of gradually building, till we get independence over 50% and then throw it away in some self-indulgent nonsense, which, even if it was right, which it isn't, would hardly be tactically the most astute manoeuvre when you're meant to be taking Scotland to its next date with destiny.
Cracking, isn't it? No, right? I mean, he totally got it, the ginger boo-boo nonsense, he calls it, as well as any normal person would. But when he goes on about the self-indulgence, he's obviously talking about Sturgeon there and how, and he's right, depending on how much you want to say it, it has increased, and it has increased gradually, and I don't believe it's ever got to before the over 50%. But the notion of independence has grown over 30 years. Somehow he knows the metrics better than me, has dropped that to 6% in 1 month after 30 years of, as his terms, continued slight and humbled growth. And nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Right? He's saying the exact same as unionists have been saying for years about this crank who they're now talking about bringing back in some capacity as the leader of the independence movement going forward. Brilliant. Please. Absolutely fantastic news for unionists. And see if she says no. That's Cumser, right? He's probably even a better candidate for the unionists to have as a leader of an independence drive, because the two of them are red rotten. Okay? Wee Humsy McWhatsApp face. She had made a career out of a pandemic by getting on the TV every day, putting herself in her living rooms every day. Folk were talking about going out and standing on the doorsteps and battering pans for Nicola. Nicola, bolt your rocket. That's what I'd have been saying at my door. No clapping pans for her, right? But that's how she caught the imagination of the nation. If it was no pandemic, Sturgeon's ratings would have been nowhere near where they got to. But she believed, as many do, with power, that it's all they're doing and they're invincible and all these things. And that's what ultimately cost her cropper, because she couldn't see what Alex Salmond could see, and we could all see that buying into this gender woo-woo nonsense was not right. And even some of the harshest supporters of independence went off her at that point. And a lot of people thought, cranks, can't be dealing with them. And now the whole SNP is tarnished with this bubble of destroying safe same-sex spaces because Nicola wanted it. And you'll see if you're on Twitter, folk like Neil Hanvey, who I've met a few times, and a very, very nice man, ex-SNP MP. And he is telling it straight over the last few days on Twitter, how he, as a gay man who stood against this queer ideology, as he puts it, and the transgender nonsense, was basically ignored by his party and flung to the wolves. And then they tried to dream up this thing with him that he was in some way anti-Semitic. I've met Neil on a few occasions. I don't think he's anti-anything apart from anti-unionist, right? And even at that, I'm able to converse with the man quite comfortably. And even he was ostracised by his party because he wasn't buying into their nonsense either. Anyway, there we have it. An absolute... I'm going to play it again, right, because it was so funny. I'll play it at the end of the video, right? It's cracking. And this is where my head was with Alex Salmond. I, over the course of probably the 6 to 9 months before he passed away, was really softening the guy. I would never agree with him politically, but I could see a guy that was a strategist, an orator, and he could see right from wrong, and he saw right through her. And I'd done a few videos before he passed away, and I'll be honest with you, put your hands up, I spoke to one of his ex-cabinet SNP ministers weeks before he passed away, and I'd shared my wish that I would love to have had him as a guest on the podcast and interview him, because I like interviewing interesting people, and love him or loathe him, you can't disagree with the fact that he's interesting, but it wasn't to be, sadly. As I say, I'll play the video again at the end here. So if you enjoyed the video, thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing and hit the notification bell. Put your comments below what you think of the topic, the subject matter, but most importantly, unless you are one of these people who want to hang your political dreams on gender woo-woo nonsense, not you, but
everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.